We've got an 8-inch traditional fruitcake here. We will begin by preparing it to cover with marzipan. So, as with most cakes, when you bake them, you'll end up with a dome on top, which we don't necessarily want. So the first thing we'll do is cut that off so it's nice and level. If you've got a cake leveller, then obviously you can use that, but it needs to be a fairly sturdy one so it can cut through the fruit. Otherwise, a serrated bread knife will do. You can see the line here around the edge where the top of the cake tin was, so we will follow that line to make sure that we get a level cut. So having done that, when we're working on the cake, we'll flip it up, because then that way we've got the nice neat edge from the base of the cake to form the top of our cake once it's decorated. So I will put that to one side for a moment. So the first thing we need to do is attach our cake to the cake board. I've got here an 11-inch board, so we'll have quite a wide rim around the cake and therefore plenty of space to decorate. We're going to start by rolling out some marzipan. You want to give it a good knead so that it's nice and pliable. If we take our cake board, we've got some warmed up apricot jam here, which I'm just going to brush a little bit onto the board, like so, and then put the piece of marzipan we've rolled out on top. You can press that down, then a little bit more jam so that it sticks, and then we'll place our prepared cake upside down onto that, making sure that we've got it more or less in the middle there. And then with a smooth knife, not a serrated one, you just go around and cut away the excess from around the cake. Like so. If he's not quite in the middle, this is the point where you can shuffle it over ever so slightly. The next thing we want to do, again with our pastry brush and apricot jam, is brush it over the surface of the cake, because this is what will make the marzipan stick. Once you've brushed your cake, the next step is to fill any of the holes left by the fruit with little pieces of marzipan so that when we cover it, it's got a nice smooth surface. You just want to roll a tiny little piece, press it in and smooth it out, and then that way you'll have a smooth surface once you start to decorate. When you bake this at home, if you've got the kind of tin like this that leaves a ridge around the cake, to fix that so that it doesn't show once you ice it, what we can do is roll a very thin sausage of marzipan, like so, which we will then just stick on the edge to fill that gap. So once we put the marzipan covering and then the sugar paste on, it won't show and we won't have a peculiar ridge sitting there. Once you've placed the sausage, use your fingers to just press it down slightly, all the way around so that it's nice and even with the cake. Be sure to clean your surface and the board of any crumbs that have developed, and we're now ready to cover the cake in marzipan. Before we cover the fruitcake with the marzipan, make sure you clear away any crumbs that we've made. A little tip for you here, if you've got a spare bit or even a waste bit of marzipan or sugar paste, if you just knead it, make it into a ball and then wipe your surface with it, the marzipan or sugar paste will pick up all the crumbs and dust and fluff and anything else that may be there, sticking it onto this rather than the icing you're about to roll out. Leave him to one side. So, again, we need a nice, well-kneaded piece of marzipan. When you're rolling out marzipan and sugar paste, to get the right size, you need roughly the top of the cake plus twice the height, and then you'll have enough to go over and down both sides. If you're not sure, you can always use your rolling pin to measure how much that is, to just roughly mark it as you move along. So as you can see, if we roll a piece that's around the same diameter as the length of my rolling pin, it should be more than enough. Now that we've rolled out the marzipan, we need to transfer it onto the cake. If you place your rolling pin in the middle of the marzipan, grab one edge, fold it over. You can then use the rolling pin to lift it up like this. And then if you line up the bottom edge, you can carefully roll it over the cake and hopefully do so without any breaks or tears in it. Begin by using your hands to smooth down the top. Marzipan's fairly forgiving, so we don't need to be too precise just yet. Once the top's smoothed and attached, use the edge of your fingers to put pressure on that top edge of the marzipan, like so. And then slowly work your way down the sides of the cake, again gently pressing onto it to smooth it out. As you can see, it will form pleats, which you just want to carefully spread them out and then again press them down. If you keep turning the cake as you do it, you should be able to get all the way around with it nice and smooth in the end. Once you've got it smoothed down with your hands, we can go over it with a hard plastic smoother, which will just give us a nice finish to those surfaces. With this on that bottom edge, if you use it standing up and press fairly firm, that will make sure that the very bottom of the marzipan is attached to the cake. Once you've gone over the cake with the smoothers, we can trim off the excess from the bottom. Again, you just want a knife and nice and close to the edge there, following the line of the cake. Trim that off and then put the excess to one side or eat it. And again with the smoother, you just want to follow around that edge and just make sure that it's nicely tucked into the base of the cake. So you can leave it like this, perfectly fine, ready to cover in sugar paste. Or if you want a slightly sharper edge on it, you'll need a second smoother. You place one up against the side and another on top, and then you want to shuffle the one on top towards the one on the side to begin with, and then repeat the action, keeping the one on top still whilst you move the one on the side up. As you go all the way around the cake, you will start to form a slightly sharper edge on it. Once you've done that and got the sharp edge started, the next thing you can do to help it along is if you just use your fingers and pinch the edge slightly, like that, because again you can see it starts to form something approaching a right angle on the side there. Now you need to be very, very gentle when you do this, and the action you want to make is you pinch so that your thumb pulls the paste from the centre of the cake towards the edge, and your fingers are pulling the paste from the bottom up towards the top. And do it very, very gently so that you don't tear it. Once you've done that, we'll go over it again with our smoothers. First on the top, and then on the side. And as you can see, you start to lose the definitions of where you pinched it, but you just get that nice edge remaining. And then again with both, line them up together and slide it around the edge of the cake like that. Now, if you want to get a really smart edge on it, there's one last step you can do using acetate smoothers. It's the same principle. One on top, one on the side, and you slide them together like so, applying a firm but even pressure, which will then give you a pretty sharp edge. And then finally, if you want to just even out that edge, if you've got one that's got a right angled bent in it, you can just press that onto the edge with your fingers and just very lightly run that round, and it will smooth and even out any lumps or bumps that have developed on the edge. And there you have it, one marzipan cake ready for sugar paste.